Sexual harassment is a relatively new legal concept, but what does it actually mean and why are some victims reluctant to come forward? Here to help answer those questions are employment law attorney and former commissioner on California's Fair Employment and Housing Commission, Patty Perez, and Doreen Mattingly, associate professor of women's studies at San Diego State. Welcome. Doreen, walk us through a brief history of sexual harassment in this country.
Okay. In 1964, the passage of the Civil Rights Act made employment discrimination illegal. Again, made employment discrimination on the basis of sex illegal. And feminists at that time were trying to find a way to capture what really happened to women in the workplace. That it wasn't just that they weren't fired, but they were treated in a way that was sexualizing, demeaning, and sometimes dangerous for women. And they coined the term sexual harassment, which was used in legal cases in the 70s. When Eleanor Holmes Norton was appointed to head the EEOC in 1977, she took on legal cases at the federal level and put against sexual harassment.
All right.
And then in 1991, when Anita Hill accused Clarence Thomas of sexual harassment, I think a lot of people who weren't in the legal profession became aware of it, and that's really when a lot of us found out about it.
Okay, and Patty, how does the public definition of sexual harassment differ from the legal one?
Well, under the legal standard, in order for it to be unlawful harassment under the Fair Employment and Housing Act, which is California's law, you have to have an employment relationship. So it does involve people who work together, in many instances a boss and a subordinate, and there are some very specific elements. It has to be unwelcome conduct that's subjectively and objectively unwelcome. It has to be either severe or pervasive, and it has to unreasonably interfere with your ability to work.
And Doreen, historically and in your experience, what keeps women from coming forward if they think they've been sexually harassed?
Well, part is what we're seeing right now with the women who've accused Bob Filner. Now the attention has turned to them. And so fear of being the center of attention, fear of retaliation, fear that nothing will be done. Also, in general in society, the people who are most likely to be harassed are the most vulnerable people in a workplace that have the most to lose. And so that power differential, the fear about what will happen to them, keeps women from coming forward.
I want to let people know we had some comments on our website questioning the motives of women who have come forward that have been alleging sexual harassment of the mayor. I want to read a couple of them. I Love San Diego wrote, and this second lady capitalizing on something from 10 years ago for her 15 minutes of fame. And from Philosopher 3000 wrote, this appropriately named political consultant, i.e. fundraising party planner, looks and dresses like a high-priced call girl. If I met this sexy woman at a party, I might do the same thing. Janda SD praised Fink originally for her initial response, but then added, I was not anywhere close to sexual. It was not anywhere close to sexual harassment. What I would do is laugh it off, shake my butt, make a joke back, as it was clearly a joke in that context. Doreen, what do you make of these?
I think it's interesting that now we're talking about specific women and their behavior rather than the question of whether or not City Hall is a equal, safe place for women to work, which is the issue, what's at issue here, and that's why sexual harassment is a problem. It's a form of gender discrimination, and this is exactly why people don't come forward.
What about the idea that you were provoking, well, maybe I should ask you this, what about the idea that you were provoking or encouraging harassment behavior because of the way you're dressed or the way you look?
Well, again, there's a different answer from a legal perspective and more of a psychological or workplace perspective. From a legal perspective, what that goes to is the question as to whether the behavior was truly unwelcome from a subjective perspective. It would typically take a lot more than just dressing provocatively to show that, in fact, you wanted or welcomed that behavior.
And we're not saying that any of these people that are accusing the mayor were dressed provocatively. We were just responding to that web comment. Let me ask you this, Patty. What is the best way to ask or question somebody who is alleging sexual harassment without maybe re-victimizing them?
It's a little more difficult when you're doing so in, for example, a deposition context. That tends to be a more adversarial process. When I do my work and conduct investigations and do interviews with these victims, I set the stage, first of all, to make sure that they understand exactly what my job is, that I'm not here to judge them or to re-victimize them, to apologize in advance for any questions that I might ask that might delve into personal or embarrassing matters. And then I really just try to be as empathetic a listener as I can be when I ask the questions to get the facts.
Okay. Thank you. you both so much for the update and talking with us. And I want to let folks know that they can see the whole timeline and read a whole lot more on our website, kpbs.org, under the Filner Files. Thanks again.
Thank you.